ちに潰す潰す潰す
潰す潰す潰す潰す潰す潰す潰す潰す
Come to this channel for some of the most random references ever. We opened this week at our heroine's homeroom, where the teach announced that the cafeteria would be temporarily closed, so they were going to have to bring their own home lunches, but would be allowed to eat outside like it was a picnic. Sounds more like a convenient excuse for the school's poor management, but whatever. Plot the episode and whoa, what is going on with Kokono's face here? I mean, it doesn't look bad or anything. In fact, it looks really technically good, but looks different from the rest of the series, and yet also oddly familiar. Hold on, I just gotta check something here real fast, and yep, nothing but Yu-Gi-Oh animators this week, in particular Keiichi Hara. If the fight turns into an action duel this week, then I'm quitting. But yeah, Kokone was going to be the spotlight here of this episode, which meant her cheer squad would also be featured, and they even ended up enticing the rest of the class to enter into full simp mode and asked if they could all eat with her. She, of course, accepted and was determined to make it a fun lunch and...
あらあらここねちゃんお友達に誘われたのがよっぽど嬉しかったのに
Nice to have you back, lady.
考察ありがとう
Later, they decide to do a little prep for the next day by making some potato salad that does actually taste a little better if you make it a day ahead. For it, they had Kokone's butler get the ingredients for them.
ありがとう轟さん
Oh, if Oni. Anyway, Takumi stopped by and almost thought that they were talking about him at one point, but with this show's stop and go developments, of course they weren't.
あれ匠何してるの
何って回覧板だ
Just mark this as away. I mean, the last thing we need is any more ads for Chinese takeout. No offense, Ron. During all of this, we finally got some acknowledgement that there were other food bloggers in this world, aside from Ron, who was even a follower of this person. Kind of makes Gentle look even more incompetent if she couldn't have just have looked up who Ron was following, but hindsight and all that jazz.
なんだけど
Oh no, the laughing man is attacking. Quick, somebody get the major on the line! The blogger called themselves Solo Moku-chan, so Ron assumed that it was a cute girl who was writing this, which, yeah, just remember that for later. Anyway, they made some tasty salads, and of course had leftovers for the next day. Kokone's parents ended up praising their daughter for taking the initiative and becoming more social, and god, why are almost all the moms in this franchise so freaking hot? But yeah, they encouraged Kokone to do her best at the picnic, and not become the main conflict of this episode. Meanwhile, the lair of the bundles...
前々から思ってたんだけどこのポーズちょっとダサくないか
Thank you! Seriously, I wonder if this was a response to the idiot fans who are unironically doing what's essentially like what the bad guys from World War II were doing.
っていうか、これってやっぱダサいのか?
Yep, best episode of the season so far. At the same time, because she slept in the car, Pom Pom ended up following Todoroki to his lunch, where they didn't show it, but he definitely got on his phone. I mean, why else would he clearly stage it up for the likes?
自らの存在証明いいねを稼ぐためにね
Back with our heroines, they were enjoying their lunches.
ご飯と卵が永遠にホップステップジャンピングホップステップ
However, one of them wasn't having the best time for painfully obvious reasons.
にしてもここねちゃん大人気だね順番待ちの列までできてるし
Oh no, y'all didn't do anything wrong, like forming a line and bothering your classmate while she's trying to eat, you bunch of goddamn simps. I mean, I get what they're trying to do here, and will admit the faces Kokone makes here are kind of hilarious, but all I can think here is, am I watching Komi-san? I mean, it is appropriate considering the spotlight character of this episode that we'll get to in just a minute, but geez, did they have to go this over the top with the classmates forming a line to just chat with her for a few minutes, and even timing each other like, good god, what is wrong with y'all, and why did they never get called out for this nonsense? That said, I did like this bit afterwards of Kokone admitting that she had been uncomfortable with so much stimuli literally surrounding her, adding to the theory that she might be on the spectrum. Thus, while I do think the setup is kind of dumb, I at least appreciate the characterization that resulted from it. We'll talk more about this at the end, but for now, Grandma Quote of the Week.
美味しいものを食べるのは楽しいが、一番楽しいのはそれを待っている間だってな。
Honestly, that quote would have worked a lot better because again, Yui got it wrong and just defaulted back to her usual catchphrase because this girl is made up of only platitudes. Later, Todoroki tried to cheer Kokone up by buying her a hot dog that he had also once enjoyed and even blogged about, which Kokone happened to stumble upon.
これ書いてるの私です。
そうなの？
Oof, our heroines are guilty of misgendering. He then exposited about the joys of eating solo after a stressful day, which I do agree with highly, though I will also admit that's often because I'm a bit of an anti-socialite that really should try to overcome that. Again, we've got more to say about this and how it relates back to the picnic, but for now, Monster of the Week fight, as yes, Narcissa captured the hot dog fairy, which I'm sure makes Naoshi happy, and used it to create a coffee maker monster. Wait, aren't they in the middle of a park right now? Where would they find a coffee maker?
The answer is don't think about it.
And fortunately, everyone else was just there because not much time left in the episode. The resulting fight was at least really good, with the monster going full Zeong and actually making a bunch of Gundam noises. Guess that stuff is royalty free. And it also has suction feature for where the coffee grounds go, though I guess rocks will work too. By the way, the writer of this episode was Mutsumi Ito, a veteran of this franchise, who has written ever since Fresh, and is probably best known for that one Go Princess episode. Yeah, that episode. Do I even want to know what this person's writing process is like? And while Kokone was of course the spotlight character of this episode, who even used the suction to her advantage to attack the monster, I think some special mention should go to Rosemary here for making the save. Oh, and Black Pepper showed up and didn't get involved at all. Well, welcome back to Irrelevance, Takumi.
やれやれ。美味しいコーヒー飲み損ねた。
Just go buy yourself an AeroPress and you'll get something way better. With that, the episode ended with everyone enjoying some Red Hots, which, yes, Kokone defined as a sandwich, as it should be, and with Pom Pom revealing who Solo Mogu was to Ron, who didn't get it because she was still insistent on misgendering the poor guy. This was a pretty good spotlight episode for Kokone. I mean, it certainly did its job by giving her further characterization by hinting at her having at least some sort of communication disorder. Granted, it could have been done through a far less obtuse scenario. I mean, I'm pretty sure almost anyone would not hold up well when a line forms in front of them. Still, there were at least more good goofy moments that didn't make me want to roll my eyes, and at the very least, they buried that stupid bundle salute. Before we get into what I admit are my more personal issues with this episode, I will give a lot of praise to it looking really good thanks to the Studio Gallop alumni comfortably settling into their new home at Toei. In particular, Keiichi Hara did a great job, as this really did feel like one of his better Yu-Gi-Oh episodes, in particular when it came to the faces and of course the fight scene. Help stays not above incorporating some of the more ridiculous elements. Which brings us to the writer, Mutsumi Ito, who does do comedy well, and certainly got a few good laughs out of me. In my opinion, she did a good job overall, especially considering this was her first episode of the season, and we're 15 episodes in. However, the part that did throw me off was unfortunately the main conflict, mostly due to its poor execution in my opinion. Again, I get that their intentions were to put Kokone in a scenario where she would be surrounded by stimuli to the point that she'd be overwhelmed and thus her butler would have to come in to help decompress her. I actually really liked that conceptually, but the problem was her classmates going full Komi-san on her and crowding around her in a way that anyone on the spectrum or not would be overwhelmed. Thus, if this was supposed to show a scenario where things could become too stressful for someone with a communication disorder, it's muddled by the fact that anyone wouldn't like playing 20 questions with a bunch of people all at once. even if Kokone was the one who invited them to eat with her, they're the ones who took it too far and yet were never really called out on their nonsense. Personally, I think it would have been a lot more effective if she had just gotten stressed out over a few people talking to her at once, which I can attest can happen as someone with Asperger's. But no, of course they had to go with almost the entire class because Japan still doesn't have a good grip on this stuff. And again, these are more the personal ramblings of someone who has had stressful experiences with Asperger's, so maybe it doesn't bother you as much even if you are also on the spectrum. Otherwise, other minor complaints I have is Takumi kind of being sidelined yet again right after his debut. Hopefully this is just for this episode and he's not just going to be wasted. But other than that, and my obvious issues with the scenario, I did like this episode overall for fleshing Kokone out a little more. And if anything, let's just be glad that there's no Yama in this class yet. Unfortunately, we weren't able to finish up the Tropical Rouge review, as we did want to make some last minute changes to the script, but don't worry, it should be out sometime this week. Then from there, we'll just continue right into ranking the Yu-Gi-Oh! Openings, which we'll see to the end, as I do want to put up some different content for the Odyssey channel. And I gotta say, it has been working out pretty nicely, especially not needing to worry about frivolous copyright claims, YouTube. So do check out and look forward to all of that. And until then though, for now my friends, and well, all of a sudden I have a hankering for some donuts.